What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back. Did you miss me all last night? Obviously, I wasn't here. I was out doing work stuff, 9 to 5, presenting and all that kind of good stuff, getting excited about what's going on in the 9 to 5 world. But I'm back this evening. So shout out to everybody tuning in. Chaos Night. Thank you so much for the GGs. I appreciate that, my man. So good evening, everybody. Welcome in. Yeah, fresh trim. Obviously, I was presenting today, wasn't I? So many of you guys know that I have a 9 to 5 job that I have to do as well. And chuck the old trimmerino there. Even look, trim this. You know, I was like, I wanted to be fresh when I was presenting the topic I was presenting. And if you guys remember, I did present last year, but I didn't use dollars this year. I used pounds, which is obviously when you're in the like normal corporate world, pounds are what make the world go around. When you're in crypto, then this is ultimately what makes it. I was not live last night, no. So I was out. I had to take 18 people out for dinner. Hosted an entire meeting yesterday, and then today I presented in front of 200 people, along with about 6 other people, directors of the business I work for, and a few other things. So fun couple of days. Obviously, the market's rallied a little bit, which was all kind of, no, I took the wagtail out to Mark P. I can't believe I told you guys that. I took the wagtail out. I thought it was hilarious, but yeah, the wagtail did not make it into the speech, as every single person I told didn't laugh. So I thought, well, hey, let's take it out. Anyway, back into what is fun, which is obviously the crypto market. We'll talk about what's going on. Obviously, the reason and the title of this stream is, oh, the crypto bulls back in charge. Like, you will have seen this all over YouTube. It's everywhere. People like freaking out, telling us that the bull market's back on, like all of this kind of crazy stuff. All right. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We'll get into it, but you only have to go and have a look on YouTube or Twitter and just see like what people are talking about. It's almost crazy. It's like, oh, once in a lifetime move. Oh, Bitcoin's back to the move. Oh, there's huge signals are out there. Oh, everyone's back. It's just like, man, it's a wild, wild ride right now. So, you know, we want to just kind of break it down. As always, I would appreciate your input, your opinion, your thoughts and your views, because that's ultimately how we win as a community, okay? This isn't about just me telling you what I think is going to happen. This is about interaction. This is about you guys saying, hey, 2-bit, I think you're wrong, and then we can talk about it, all right? So we'll get into that. I want to obviously just talk about this whole Iran situation that I think is vastly misplaced when we talk about the economy and we talk about the crypto market, and we'll talk about potentially what's going to happen. All right, so quite a lot to get into tonight. As always, smash the like button, if you're brand new here as well, even if you're on TikTok or you're on YouTube, do make sure that you just click the follow button. That makes sure that you don't end up following some random person, especially on TikTok. You don't want to end up following some random person that's going to send you a DM being like, hey, did you like the stream? That's not me. So right now, if you're here on YouTube, you're here on TikTok, just hit the follow button, all right? That way you know that it's me that you're following, okay? I don't DM people. I don't do anything like that. So yeah, it is absolutely worth it. So with that being said, as always, let's get into the channel. Let's get into the live stream and let's talk about it. So Casey, what's going on? Best moderator in the game. Welcome back, buddy. So let's talk about it. All right, here we go. Bitcoin following a pretty interesting pattern. Like we said, many people right now are like, hey, 2-bit, you're wrong. Like, this market's going up. And hey, look, maybe I am, but it doesn't feel like it. Mark Noby's in the house. What's going on, Mark? Grimmer says, you and online Cracker Jacks are here. What's going on, buddy? Welcome back. Mouse says we missed you. Thanks, Mouse. I missed you guys as well. I switched off on crypto today until your stream 2-bit. Thanks to Marta P. I appreciate that. So let's take a look at price action. Let's understand a little bit here on the charts. Then we'll get into a bit more of the macro kind of stuff that's going on as well. So it is kind of worth it. I do need to change this really quickly. I'm sorry. I need to just move this. Can I move this? What happens if I do 15? What happens? It's going to move this little box here at the top. Is it going to move this box at the top? Oh, maybe it's not. Top right, middle right. Where does it go if I put it middle right? Ooh, that is terrible. Let's not do it there. Oh, we can put it bottom right. There we go. All right, cool. We can put it down there. That's fine. That's fine. Roki, what's going on, buddy? Welcome. Welcome. So, again, Bitcoin here, in my opinion, says to me that it's forming a very obvious pattern. It's been forming this pattern now for, well, I mean, like in this week as well. So we're not really seeing anything like super, super crazy. Price is still very much just within this range. You could even box this range pretty comfortably here and just say, well, look, you could argue if you took the top of the VPVR, which is the bit here on the right side, and you went to the bottom of this range, you'd sort of say, well, look, anything trading within this box is just standard price volatility. It's not anything super crazy. It isn't any magic move here in the market. It's not like some crazy overpriced or underpriced valuation. It's just moving within a range. And you could, leverage a number of reasons for that. You'd be naive to believe that there isn't market makers just moving this market along, just, moving it here, moving it there, moving it everywhere. But at the same time, obviously, you're looking for people just to short trade this, long trade this, scalp this, do whatever they're kind of doing. And I think this is why you're sort of getting this volatility. While ever there is the tensions in Iran, in my opinion, I don't believe that we see this bigger move. For example, we know recently that there is lots of debate going on with the Straits of Hormuz and the fact that they believe that there are, mines being set up and all this kind of crazy talk that's going on right now, which, by the way, I totally believe they're probably setting them up. That, we could see a significant wick down in price quite easily. Doesn't really need to be sort of anything untoward, and like we said, could easily just wick down in price. So the fact that we're sort of trading within this range is fine. Okay, that's kind of standard, consolidation. What is worth noting here, though, and I think it's important to just give a view, is when you start to look structurally at what's going on, okay? Sammy Silva, what's going on? You look structurally what's going on. What do you start to see here? If we were just to put some very obvious, links here, as an example, okay, what do you see here? Well, you see a very similar pattern starting to play out, and it isn't just here. It's a number of areas here that we start to see this very obvious pattern, which, essentially this drop down, accumulation, some price pumps that people start to get excited about, leverage starts to build, and then obviously we see the dump. There are a couple of key things to think about here. We're still trading below the 100-day EMA, which is the light blue line here that you can see kind of moving on. Damien, what's going on, my man? Thank you for the heart, me. Appreciate it, buddy. You can see this, and whenever we trade below this 100-day EMA, then it's very much a bearish sentiment. You could argue and say, well, we're trading under the 50, and every time we've broke out of the 50-day EMA, which is the red line, we've actually brought straight back in and then dumped harder. And I think it's interesting when you look at where we are right now. We rejected here twice off the 50. We didn't break out from this pennant here. So again, you could argue at the minute we're just in this kind of consolidation range. Nothing's really happening. What's also interesting as well, by the way, if you were looking at kind of just moves to kind of get an idea as to where and how this, where this and how, kind of how this kind of breaks out. Look at this. You could argue here from the breakdown, where does it go to? Literally the bottom of this range. So, if you were in a, well, I just think things happen for a reason, then you argue and say, well, okay, if we break down from the range, where does our price target get us to? 55,000? 55,000 somewhere where we've been kind of discussing about this price range for a while. So 3 years for the next bull run? No, I think it comes, the end of the bull run, the what people talk about in the parabolic phase, the final year where everything goes crazy. You probably just have to get to about October of this year. And I think I've sort of said this publicly. I think we could break six figures again by the end of this year, which is kind of a bit crazy, in fairness. Which is kind of a bit crazy, which would be wild. Watched the replay a couple of days ago. Too bit called the short live and the stream. It was beautiful. I would have entered if I had been watching live. There you go. Oh, the one we did on Weex where the M pattern play out. Yeah, that was a pretty nice short, in fairness. That was a pretty bottom 44.7, 49k, highly likely. Yeah, I agree, Grendro. Maybe not quite as low as that. Maybe a wick down I could see, but this kind of idea and this concept, I believe that people are sort of talking about now. Bull runs back. The bulls are in chat. It's just nonsense, in my opinion. Right, in my opinion. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't range. That doesn't mean that this price can't go higher. Remember, if we're trading within this pattern, then that's fine. Like, that's not anything super crazy. You could even argue from the previous move to the bottom move, where do we see in terms of Fibonacci's? 236 at 69,000 isn't out of the ordinary. And then likewise, you can start to see where we rejected here at the 2382 Fibonacci at 74.5. So until we start to break any of these kind of pattern ranges, it's a bit like it doesn't really mean anything. And, I think this is where sometimes you just have to be conscious of what's happening. We'll see. Yak, I mean, all you've said is, here we are. He's chatting. I mean, you don't have to swear, do you? I mean, come on, we're all grown-ups here. Like, I don't think you need to be, you don't need to be. So you are in a world of that you think the bull market is back on, the bears are in charge, and you think the price is going way high from where we are right now. Yeah, is that right? By the way, you can have a discussion and an input without being rude. I think it's important to reference this. Like I said, we're all grown-ups. It's all our own individual money out there. If you've got an opinion, share it. Like, I want to hear what people's thoughts and opinions are. I am not claiming to be any kind of expert whatsoever. I'm just kind of saying roughly what I think and what I see and what history kind of tells us. Like I said, I've always said there's a lot of stuff going on with Iran that's always going to influence a lot of decisions that can be made on the back of it. So this is kind of where I get to with some of these numbers. Arguably, you say the longer we spend probably above some of these key ranges, the less likely we are to see a more aggressive drawdown. But remember, and if you were to chart this, let's say, for example, you look at this on a bigger scale. And remember, like, you know, we're not saying that history just repeats itself. We're not saying that, like, you know, everything that's happened before can happen again. Like, we're not saying that, because if you did, you would be insane. That would be easy, wouldn't it? Like, you short the first, you know, you short the bear market, long the bull market. None of us would need jobs. But I think when you look at history, it's important to understand how the markets tend to play out, even when you look at broader scales. Let's look at it here on the weekly time frames. Probably feels a little bit more interesting. We need the logarithmic scale. It just makes life a little bit easier. Because what you do get, generally speaking, and I think it's fair to say, anything under 50k is a DCA. Yeah, I agree. Will says not lying. Thanks, Will. What you tend to see is that we tend to consolidate upwards for longer than we tend to dump, okay? In my opinion. So what do I mean by that? Well, you can get a pretty aggressive drawdown before, again, you see this kind of move. So if you assume that the fact that we're pushing up in certain points takes longer than the drawdown to come, that means we can push down way quicker, and then we sort of move back. So every single big push down in market prices tend to then followed by a small trend upwards, and on every metric. For example, let's go back here. You can see this. So let's go all the way back here to 2017, which was the pick here, and this will kind of give us a bit of an idea. Now, again, you can see here, we get a very much straight wick down on a weekly candle. You could probably even look at this on, say, like a 2-day chart or something like that to give you a real sense of kind of how all this plays out. But, you know, 2017, pretty interesting time. Obviously, the massive spike that we got. And then what do you get here? Look, it's really, really obvious to see. You just get this massive dump followed by then a consolidation back to the upside. Massive dump over the period of about 4 days. Consolidation. Again, you just see this. Look, massive dump. We consolidate and we grind our way back up. So the dumps are way easier and they're way more aggressive than the pumps. Okay. So again, this is just history. It tells exactly what happened. Look at this. So we dump in literally, what's this? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 days, okay? We go from like 8,500 to the low here of around 6,000, and then we grind our way back up. This is obviously over the period of about 3 weeks. And then you got this. Dump, grind. It's just the most obvious thing, especially in bearish markets, okay? Let's understand that, right? Let's understand that. This is not a bull market. It's not a bullish market. Yes, price is up, all right? 70,700, 10,000 up from the low. That's fine, right? That's fine. But it's not a bullish market. And there's a number of things that I think people are neglecting that are going to influence this market way more. Jobs, CPI, we'll touch on a little bit later on the stream. But again, if you work through then from, say, well, 2021, okay, 2021 was crazy too, but everyone was making so much money, no one cared. Well, yeah, exactly. But look again at the aggressiveness. Dump, consolidate, grind all the way back up. Even this little, little kind of wick down here. But look at this. We dumped in the best part of what, you could argue the dump was to the bottom 60 days. Okay. So we went from the top here around 60,300 to the bottom here in around 27 now, 60 days. In order to get back up to that point, what did that look like as a longer period of time? It took 112 days, double the length of time to get us back to that kind of price range. And you can look at that on a number of it. Look at this, for example, here. Even if you don't say, well, okay, let's get back to the previous price. Let's just get to a reasonable price. Look at this. In literally 2, 4, 6 days, we go from the range of 32.2 all the way down here to 22. We dumped 10,000. Look how long we consolidate sideways and then we drop down, consolidate sideways. So, again, look at this. Some of these moves take the best part of, 62 days. That's 2 months before the price goes down as we see this kind of bear market, before we get to the bottom here of December 2022, which was essentially when FTX collapsed and everything then starts to grind its way higher. So, people that are saying, oh, Tuba, you're wrong. Like, look at this. Like, this is nothing. We haven't even ranged that far. I mean, think about this move currently right now. We're into 34 days. All right. So laws of average tell us that there's at least probably another 30 days before the next move happens. And the next move might be a small move to the upside. It doesn't feel like it. And 1% today, great. All right. Great. In my opinion. I'm out of range to say BTC can go to 44K. I mean, look, I think if you were to say on a scale of 1 to 10, what is the probability of it going to 44K? I think it's 50-50. I mean, personally, I don't see it getting that low. Why? I think people buy the dip. Look at the 60K dip, and people bought the absolute living crap out of that dip. I think 44K, unless it is kind of a consistent and aggressive sell-off, then I think it's going to be a real struggle, personally. All right? A real struggle. Brother, check the 12 months fair value gap. 12, as in, do you want it on the monthly candles? I think, do I have fair value gap on this? I don't have the fair value gap on that. That's kind of annoying. That's kind of annoying. I thought I had the fair value gap on that one, to be honest, but yeah. Craig, what's going on? I hate to admit I'm here late. Thanks, Selma. Appreciate you. VHF in the building as well. I still need to understand my Discord. I'm sure Craig can help you out. Well, I don't know what you need to understand about it as well, but you'll have to tell me. Message from Norway. We carry the oil prices in Europe so they don't jump more. Our reserves are low. We can't hold much longer, which means USA be very lonely on Earth. BTC's pricing. Well, I mean, the restriction on your oil will in essence dump BTC, I think. Now it hasn't, but yeah. Crypto Tony says I'm going to DCA at 55K. Yeah, I think so. So you have to check the 12 months chart, and then you see the imbalance. As in the imbalance of the dump versus the pump. Is that what you're talking about? Like we've just been discussing. Because again, if you look on the monthly here, you can just see the aggressiveness that we've got. Remember, if you want to see a reversal, you need 2 green candles, which I know people are like, what are you talking about? Obviously, that's the most obvious thing in the world. But yeah, it is essentially, essentially kind of what you need to get in order for it to see a reversal. So yes, okay, we've had a monthly candle that's gone green. Fine. Doesn't mean we're going to see this kind of big reversal, in my opinion anyway. So, kind of worthwhile thinking about. Kind of worthwhile, in my opinion. Paul, what do you do? Yeah, just let us know what you need. I can see the FVG. I'm thinking the same. So, yeah. So, I mean, like I said, there's definitely this kind of argument here around where you have aggressive sell-offs and then this kind of pump back up. And there's always these memes in there that go around where people go, oh, like Bitcoin pumping to the moon after it's dumped 50, 60%. So, the weekly candles look awful. They look this awful. I mean, you could argue and say, well, hold on a minute. According to your logic right now, yeah, we've got a double candle here that's maybe starting to, give us a bit more of a movement back to the upside. But, again, rejecting off this downward sloping trend line, consolidating exactly the same as we did here before pushing to the downside. So, next week could be interesting. Think about it. We'll talk about Iran in a minute, but they could really, really squeeze the whole oil scenario. And the biggest problem you have here, and I know loads of countries are releasing their oil. Trump's come out and said that I'm happy to release their petroleum. We looked at the reserves they've got. The problem you have is you have Iran saying, we are going to push the price of oil to $200 a barrel. If all these countries come out, they release all their oil reserves, and the price still goes up, they've got nowhere else to go. And this is the problem I think that a lot of the countries are facing, which just means the markets are going to absolutely dump Oreno because everything's going to go up in cost, all right? Important to think about. So that just kind of gives you an idea of where I think we are. We'll talk about a bit more of a strategic look in terms of macros in just a minute. But like I said, the most obvious setup and pattern, in my opinion, is absolutely correlating to a further push to the downside. It might not come tomorrow. It might not come next week, but it's coming, I think. And we'll talk about the evidence that I think supports that narrative. Okay, really quickly, just flicking through a couple of other key charts here. 2.38 trillion on the total market cap. Again, within the range. Let's not freak out. It's doing exactly what we have been watching this now for the thing. Please, my friend, take up the 11 or the 12 months chart. I don't know what you mean by the 12 months chart though. What do you mean? Do you mean by the day and just put the chart here? So for the 12 months that we've had to where we are, do you mean go from March to March? I'm struggling. Or do you want the monthly chart up? The 12 month chart by month or not? You need to give me the time scale. That's what you're not telling me. No, or the yearly time frame, as in literally like, as in, oh my God, I pressed the wrong button. Where did I put it? As in, you mean this? Do you mean that? The literally the 12 months time frame? Is that what you mean? Right, got you. Got ya. Got ya. So you're talking about this gap right here, aren't you, essentially? Another delusion YouTube. Oh, what's that? Laugh a lot. Another delusional YouTube who's going to convince his cult not to buy low. It's so pathetic listening to these dummies. Well, I just don't understand why people come into streams like that. Because clearly you haven't been here for any time whatsoever. You have absolutely no clue what this channel's about. You've absolutely no clue what I'm about. Just come in and just say that. Like, you've got no idea what I just talked. What have I talked about for the last 22 minutes? What have you... Oh, dear me. Dear me. I mean, fair play to you. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's entitled to their opinion. And, you know, it's fine. Like, I'm not going to stress it. I'm not going to stress it. And like I always say in this game, someone will be right and someone will be wrong. You know, and you know, let's see what it works out as. Let's see what it works out. But I imagine you were the sort of same person that was like, no, we're going to 200K. This is not the top. This idiot's going to tell everybody not to sell, blah, 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 blah. Then you sort of go quiet for a little bit, and then you sort of come back in, and you're like, oh, hey, this is kind of all this. It's fine. You know what I mean? Let's not stress it. Let's not stress it. You feel free to not watch, would be my view. So, right, there we go. There we go. There's the BTC 12-month chart, which, again, we've seen this a number of times. We've kind of plotted this on the, we've plotted this on the chart as well a few times. So, you know, giving you an idea of kind of where this plays out, and more importantly, kind of what this looks like as well. So, you know, if you argue here, I know you guys are, you know, talking about there, it's this essential element here, which is about 37% move as well. So, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Look, exactly. He's been through a lot. Okay. Good, right. I can't do the 12-month chart. I'm sorry. It's so cooked like on the 12-month chart, but yeah, let's do it. Okay, so let's keep going then. Let's sort of talk about what's going on. Again, we're not going to go through too many altcoins. Interesting altcoins are starting to move, but, you know, likewise, you've got some pretty interesting one. Junction, very interesting here, and I am curious as to why this is doing what it's doing, but ICP for everybody who's getting in over 10%, nice little move there. What's interesting to note here, super low caps are not doing a lot. And then the macros here, look at this, gold starting to sell off. And I do think this is where a lot of people, again, totally mix the sentiment of this market. I believe, and again, this is just my opinion, and people can call me out if I'm cool with that. Like, I'm not going to stress it. But my personal opinion here is that we don't really know what is going to happen when this stock market sell-offs. Bear in mind, you've got, you know, arguments of S&P at 6,700 selling off a little bit, gold selling off a little bit. You know, the reality is we don't know what it looks like when the markets sell. You know, that's the fact of the matter is. And the markets will sell off. Like, we need to understand, like, the S&P, bear in mind, again, we'll talk about Iran in just a minute. If there is a severe restriction in oil and global prices go up, and bear in mind, you could argue and say, well, hey, CPI data came in fine today, 2.4%. Yeah, that's flat. That's flat when you don't have, you know, the price of oil nearly $100 a barrel again. So again, we'll touch on that. But, you know, gold selling off today, 0.32, within the range, which is fine. Silver at 85, again, absolutely still within that. We called this. We said, look, I don't believe that there is going to be a massive breakout that people are calling. Pretty much exactly where we said we were going to get to. NASDAQ, which again is a good indicator as to what's going on, is down. Dollar price going up. Interesting, Russell selling off. And then look, where do we sit? Well, Brent crude oil futures, as everyone has been saying, look, it's going to the moon and all this kind of stuff. Then, you know, that's kind of where we are. Yeah, oil's starting to tick back up in price. Obviously, the big wick that completely wrecked a ton of accounts did actually come down. You know, maybe oil goes a little bit higher. I think all eyes are what's going on with the Straits of Hormuz, by the way. The other indicator that markets are uncertain right now, look at the bond market. Bond market, especially on the 10-year, up 1.7%. 1.7%, like, you know, we are where we are. Maybe Sal is right. Hey, maybe Sal is right. I'm not criticizing Sal's view. Everyone's entitled to their view. I think there's a way in which you hold yourself and you have an element of decorum when you go into a stream or when you have an opinion that I think can just be put across in a different way. I 100% want people to have differences of opinions because that's how the life and the world goes around. Equally, I absolutely expect people to have some level of decorum about themselves and how they conduct themselves in everything. I don't think that's unreasonable to ask, and I think your point lands better if you are in that world. Decorum is for the sheep. Just do it, you massive choppers. Anyway. So yeah, and stock market's pretty flat, by the way. Okay, so nothing super crazy going on here. Super cray. No, decorum's not about honesty or trust. Decorum's about the way in which you conduct yourself, isn't it? So let's phrase this slightly different. It could have come in and said, I totally disagree with that point, and I believe the laws are already in, and I think that's because of X, Y, and Z. That's just a way different way of doing it than coming in and going, the cult's not doing this, whatever, I can't remember. What did you call me? I don't know, some name. Oh no, delusional YouTuber. Yeah, that was it. And then saying that it's so pathetic. Like, I just think there's a way you can do it. There's a way you can do it. That's just my personal opinion. And again, everyone's entitled to an opinion. It's not going to be a very good stream or a very good, channel if all we do is literally echo chamber the world. But at the same time, like I said, I think in modern day life, I think it's just important to have an element of decorum about people. I think there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, good. That is where we sit. So let's just dive into a couple of bits that's going on, which I think is worth touching on. Specifically why I think the Iran stuff's kind of not done yet. And again, this will kind of support the broader market, which, if you think about where this is, just in my personal opinion, by the way, is the oil issue in Iran is just going to spike prices. Okay. So it's not necessarily directly linked to Bitcoin. It's not directly linked to the crypto market. It's the broader macro that's going to affect, the general market, the cost of doing business, which then essentially means it's priced onto the consumers. If you look at where the markets last reacted on a very average PCE, for example, you generally get sell-offs when prices impact customers more. That's just how it is. But anyway, Iran announcing their requirements for the potential ceasefire with the US, which again, I think is important, okay? Recognizing Iran's legitimate rights, Iran receives a payment of reparations and the firm international guarantees against future aggression. Not going to happen, I think it's fair to say, okay? I'm not making it political. I'm not getting into a world of saying that, like, that this is going to be any different. I just think this is how it's going to play out. They're not going to accept that. That's simple as that. Iran receives a payment of reparations. Not a chance. I mean, let's just call it as it is, okay? So, that's kind of where I think we get to, and that's kind of where my opinion is where we sit right now, which is, not going to change. So where does this then sort of lead us to? And I guess kind of what do we need to be aware of that kind of maybe can just sort of point us into the directions, okay? So look, Bitcoin balances between 1,000 and 10,000 are actually once again starting to see a small sell-off. You've got here a reduction of over 1 million BTC from whale addresses over the course of, since Tesla announcing that they were going to buy some Bitcoin. I'm not saying that Tesla are the reason why they're selling off, but it is interesting when you take a look at this chart as to kind of how the narrative is playing out. And then if you sort of attach that to the view that we have, which is broader and bigger wallets aren't necessarily selling off in big aggressive statures. And we can see that if I bring up this chart here, which just gives us an idea of what is happening. Here, that's what I want. This is what I want. And yeah, let's just do that, which we've looked at this chart before, if you remember, which tells us kind of what some of these wallets are doing and ultimately kind of the idea of what you've got kind of happening. So you can see like now, look a bit, we saw obviously this big spike coming in, but there is definitely a sell-off. It's nothing like we've seen previously, nothing like these kind of crazy, moves that we've seen previous, which I think is important to reference here. And I think he's kind of just giving you an idea and sentiment where we're going. But the view right now is that, yeah, some of these bigger wallets are just repositioning, lots of them potentially going into gold, lots of them potentially going into silver, all this kind of crazy stuff, right, that's going on. That, yeah, we are actually seeing a little bit of sell-off, which aligns to my thesis that I still think we are going to see continuations to the downside. I still think we're going to see the sell-off. I actually think at the minute, this whole idea of the price going up is just based on unease in the market, rotation of capital, etc. Okay, that's just kind of where I get to, and this kind of tells about that. And it is all down to fuel and oil. Like, the fact of the matter is, it's definitely down to kind of where we sit with this oil narrative, and then more importantly, what this kind of looks like, and more broadly, kind of filters through into some of the discussions we have. The fact that there is a problem in the Middle East with oil is just naive to say that there isn't, in my view. But. And we've looked at the Straits of Hormuz before, by the way. There are some getting through. Asia is like, continuation of huge amounts of oil running through and kind of all this sort of stuff. It's not going through at any rate we've got. Again, someone posted about Norway saying like, yeah, they're really running out of oil, for example. Sing the ABC song we learned as kids. How does Z rhyme saying Z? That's got a joke. Good to see you, man. The fact is, though, that China is the driver of this. They are the consumer that essentially is trying to get hold of this. And there is still a massive export going on from Iran. And it will only take, there's like some island somewhere that I'd seen that, you know, essentially if we see that getting attacked, then yeah, you know, we may kind of get into that world of seeing it. So, you know, that's kind of where I think we all get to. And, you know, where I think we kind of get to fundamentally with kind of all this and how this kind of plays out. So, you know, keep an eye on it. But this is the important bit here. Look, monthly export for the region of gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and fuel oil. It's the cost of literally doing business, you know, with kind of all that stuff. So, like I said, it is worth just keeping an eye on, in my opinion. All right. Because this will ultimately form kind of part of how we're going. If they can't get a hold of this oil situation, then, you know, that's kind of where I think we'll see a little bit more of a decline. So let's bring that back to where we are with BTC. Because it's easy to say, well, look, oil's a problem. It's going to spike prices, and people, rightly so, would say, well, that's not happening right now. If oil really was going to be a massive problem, well, why isn't it? Okay? Why isn't it? Okay? Well, it's to do with this. And in my opinion, by the way, if we were to get into a world of saying, well, this is different, right? This is different, okay? This is kind of very much different to every other cycle we've had going all the way back to 2012. So remember the people that said it's different, this is a 5-year cycle, blah, 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 all turned out to be wrong, okay? Again, I'm not saying that doesn't mean that it can't change. I'm not saying that. But if you look here at Bitcoin's drawdowns of historical market cap drawdown, then we are essentially nowhere near where we've been before. Let's just call it as it is. You can look here back in 2012, and look, you have to be careful with some of these previous moves because people have freaked out in 2012 exactly where they are. But look, you know, we saw 91% drawdown back in 2012. We saw an 81% drawdown in 2015. 2018 was 79%, and we got to 74%. So between 2012 and between 2023, we lost about 16% is a accumulation drawdown. Right now, we're at negative 47.2%. So this would essentially mean that this bear market, if the bottom was 60K, that we are not going to lower. And actually then the bottom of this is a drawdown that's 30% better than we have seen previously. Okay? Just my opinion. Again, I'm not saying that can't happen, but I'm saying in the laws of averages and based on everything we've kind of seen, then it's unusual that it would happen in that way. Okay? And I think some of you guys here TikTok. And I think that's where people get naive. Now, we've said this a number of times here on the channel as well. What you have to do is just be mindful of it. You know, some of us have been buying spots. We talked about this. I bought some Pepe, which people are starting to talk about. Pepe might make a move, by the way, but we bought that. Some of you guys have been DCAing us away down. Spot bags are probably, they're not, you know, anything below the kind of current price isn't the worst place to get into it. You know, would I be sat here with, 100% of my entire portfolio waiting for 55,000? It's insane. But you can start to be smart in terms of just where you invest and how you invest. And I think that's where a lot of people just kind of don't get it right. Anyway, so my opinion. But again, think about it this way. If this market does not go down any further, then this would be the absolute lowest, smallest drawdown we've ever had in history and would be the biggest move in terms of previous bear markets to current bear markets, okay? So, you know, worthwhile thinking about as that kind of plays through. And what you've got a lot here building, in my opinion, by the way, as well, is that supply and loss is once again starting to move to the upside. Now, whenever you have supply and loss could then indicate why markets don't move up. The problem is that once people get to this point where they can sell, what do we see? Short-term holders essentially will dump their bags. A fact of the matter is that history has told us, based going all the way back to 2014, that when we are seeing a significant spike in supply and loss, particularly around 40%, this indicates the start of the bear market. Look at this, 2014 to 2017. We saw the massive spike up to around 40%. This absolutely then aligned to the further push down in the market. Do exactly the same here in 2017, 2018. We saw the spike up, bottom of the bear market. Even 2022 and 2023. So exactly the same, push down in price, and we went up. So again, I'm not saying... could we get a supply shock on... I mean, you could if like ETFs and corporate treasury companies come in and buy an absolute shit ton of BTC, but they need to buy way more than they already bought. I'm not saying that like it's set in stone. I'm not saying that you know, we're in this kind of place of everything follows the same path. But like we said, it's important to just understand where certain things go. I just came from a live where a woman was wow. Oh, Lauren, what's going on? Wow. Oh dear me. I mean, that's wild, in fairness. I mean, how much were there is probably the other question I'd ask. I think we're going to go sideways for a bit now. 100%. 100%. So yeah, just my opinions. Mark has been manipulated since the 10th of October across the board. 100%. We said that. 10th of October broke stuff. 10th of October broke stuff. That crypto's got an all-time high to come in the next 2 or 3 years. He doesn't realize that we're talking a low in the short term before the next all-time high. Yeah. No idea where Holmes is. One thing about crypto this year feels like decades and yet feels like yesterday at the same time. Yeah, I mean, that's true as well. I mean, again, this is where I think people are just getting a little bit kind of crazy is that, you know, we've only been into this bear market like 150 days. Again, you could argue and say if it plays out like that and the bottom's already in, this would be the shortest bear market in history. Maybe that's true. I mean, I don't know. I think 27 good candles end to end and the early chart. Let's get it, RPM. I'm down for it. I'm down for it. Now, that doesn't mean, though, that there isn't good news. It doesn't mean there's opportunities, and that doesn't mean there's things happening in the background, which I think is why you can sometimes align yourself. They're 130 quid. Doesn't, like, you can align yourself to what kind of normally happens, which essentially is... that's not true. Once people start... VHF, by the way, and I want to be really respectful here. Once people start being offensive and being rude, I absolutely think they should be silenced. I absolutely think it should. I'll leave discourse open all day long. I think it's important that people have different views. Again, you don't have to be rude about it. And the minute you do, the minute you become rude about it, the minute you start being offensive or personal about stuff, I just don't think there's a place for it, because that it's like when people just try and make a point by putting in caps letters. It doesn't make any difference. Look, I left him as long as I possibly could just to give his view. Like, I was curious about it. Like, of course, I want to know what it's about, but I don't do a 9-to-5 job to then come here and sit here and basically be, for a better expression, heckled because of a view. I just, you know, I'm just not in that place personally. I'm not in that place personally. Again, people can have difference in opinions. I want people to have difference in opinions. Important. But there's a way of doing it, and being offensive and abusive towards me and everyone else is not the way we do it. So anyway, good news, by the way. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but MasterCard launching a program to connect crypto blockchain payments with global banking. Now, if you're an XRP holder, it's pretty interesting that you got Ripple in there. But actually, the broader picture is very, very interesting indeed. Circle, Paxos, Ripple, PayPal, Gemini, Binance all have... Anyone know? All have a stable coin attached to them. Pretty interesting. You know, I mean, yeah, it's about a P, I guess. So interesting that we start to see this. Again, these are the sort of things, in my opinion, that you look at being built in bear markets in order then to kind of move into bull markets. These are kind of the reasons I think a lot of people use this opportunity, as, you know, I think people should do, to prepare themselves for what is going to come when the bull market returns. That is how you make it happen. I think so many people miss that opportunity when it does show itself. So yeah, worthwhile watching this, and I think this may play out a little bit more favorably as well. So a couple of other bits just to sort of touch on, and then I want to look at that. Talked about this earlier, by the way, but President Trump is preparing to launch critical trade investigations that could result in new tariffs. Who cares about tariffs? Tariffs, what? Kind of interesting in terms of some of the stuff's going on. It's not like there's enough. Do you know what I mean? This whole Iran situation, it's like, oh, let's put some friggin' tariffs on as well. But anyway, the US Trade Representative Office, the USTR, is reportedly planning to launch new investigation under Section 301 into alleged unfair trade practices by some countries. Okay, so watch out. You know, potentially there. I mean, if I was a betting man, and I'm not, by the way, but if I was to hazard a guess as to exactly what this stuff's going to be, is that these are all going to be China, potentially the European Union, and the UK. I would imagine that there would be, something that would be, you know, something like that. In my opinion, okay? In my opinion, I think there would definitely be something. And I think a lot of this would be kind of this whole narrative of like, well, you guys didn't do the whole Iran thing, so boom, here's some, you know, some tariffs. I mean, whether he gets it through or not, I've no idea, but The new Section 301, which, again, we've talked about in the channel, investigation could cover topics such as industrial production and overcapacity, digital trade regulations, allegation of forced labor. Basically anything you want. It's like anything you want. Find a reason. Whack a tariff on. Pretty wild, in fairness. So, yeah, interesting. And then finally, look, let's just really quickly, I don't want to go too deep into CPI because I don't think it really matters at this moment in time. If you're a business or you are, I mean, you're anyone in a minute, this doesn't make, you just don't care about this right now. You know, as long as it wasn't like an absolute disaster, then you don't really care. All items index rose 2.4% for the 12 months. Understand, by the way, consumer price index, if you were in a, for prices to not go up, then CPI needs to be 0. I think so many people get confused about, well, if it's 2.4 last time, it's 2.4 this time, then great, nothing's changed. It's still an increase of 2.4%. I think, you know, that's kind of where people get a little bit unsure as to what it is. But look, all index rose 2.4 for the last 12 months, and in February, same increase reported for the 12 months, and in January, all items less food energy index rose 2.5. Also, same increases reported for 12 months, and in January, energy index 0.5 for the 12 months, and in February, okay? Now, you could argue and say, well, look, the fact here is that CPI coming in February at 0.3 for the overall urban consumer product is exactly the same as what it's been for, you know, a number of months, and we haven't really seen anything on the back of what that looks like. You can see there the change coming in around that as well. But what you don't see on this report, and I know you guys can't see it, but you can hear what I'm saying. What you don't see is obviously this big bit here in the middle, which is worth, which is the highlighter pen. Is it this one? I think it might be this one. Okay. Which is here, look. Electricity, and we need to probably put this in red, that actually is, you know, 6.3 and 6.2 was an unadjusted 12 months move. What's that going to look like at, you know, $100 a barrel? Think about this. And again, the reason why I think people are getting this confused, let's just take Brent oil price and do it by month. In February, okay, the highest oil got to was $72 a barrel. Look at March, okay? So March, it's never been below $76 a barrel and has been as high, admittedly, it was for 24 hours, but admittedly, $120 a barrel. Like, think about this. Like, think about what this looks like on a monthly basis. Look at it on a weekly basis, for example. Right now, you know, in my view, that's a big old dumperino here on energy. And I think we'll see a significant impact. Because if CPI goes up, then obviously you will then see PPE go up, the personal price expenditure, and that will essentially rise prices, okay? Which, you know, Calvin Hill's in the building. What's going on? Fairground. Good to see you, Fairground. Yeah. Tim with a 149 hot dog sticker. Thanks so much, Tim. Appreciate that, my man. Appreciate it. The other thing that I think people just neglect here is that if, you know, energy and stuff goes up, then you're going to see a way bigger spike in a number of other elements that come under this. So again, look at some of this: gasoline, motor fuel, electricity, pipes. And then obviously this plays out into loads of other stuff. You know, if the cost of running a new car is going up and the cost of all cars are going up, are people going to buy them? No, of course they're not. They're going to be trying to make sure that they're you know, they're sort of where it is. Are people going to buy new houses? Probably not. People going to move house? No, because obviously things cost more money. So again, this plays into, like, however long this whole Iran situation gets to, brings added risk to the market, okay? Brings added risk to the market. And I think it's kind of worthwhile, in my opinion, just seeing where this all plays out. And by the way, I'm absolutely not on my own when we talk about this. And if you take the view on energy, by the way, look, index for energy rise 0.6 in February after falling 1.5 in January. Things is going down. All right, cool, great. Great news. The gasoline index rose 0.8. And the index for natural gas rose 3.1. Conversely, the electricity index decreased 0.7 over the same period at a $78 a barrel oil. Index of energy increased 0.5 for 12 months, and it increased 4.8% in the last 12 months. Natural gas rose. Okay, so you sort of know where you are with that. So again, that's why it's going to be interesting when all of this kind of washes through, and probably why we end up in a place where this probably means it's going to be an important metric when you look at the next CPI report, which is in a while, by the way. So yeah, good. All right, you do actually have we have PPI coming Friday. Again, it's going to be pretty flat. Might end up coming in a little bit more bullish than I think we've seen for a long time. But again, it doesn't really matter of where we sit right now. It's more about what's coming, which I think people need to understand, in my opinion. Okay, in my opinion. All right, good. The hot dog definitely lifted my spirits. Everyone loves a hot dog, and in the like the food type of hot dog. Look up 1913 for US tax and US tariffs. We need to go back to that model. 1913. Wow, that is going back in a while. That is going back in a while. So yeah, so that's kind of where we get to. So if you do have any thoughts and questions, let me know. Not about Sal. I mean, you can ask about him, but I don't even know who he is. Hold on a minute. Price. I would have so much money. Yeah, well, I mean, 1913, yeah. That would be good news, by the way. If you haven't already, by the way, do me a quick favor, smash up the like button and tap the screen if you're on TikTok as well. We'd greatly appreciate it if you could. That would be wildly appreciated. Like I said, it's a tough old grind right now on social media. So if you enjoy the content, hit the like button, and if you enjoy the content, remember we stream 6 days a week here on the channel, trying to bring you what's going on in the market. So do make sure that you subscribe and make sure you turn that notification bell to all. That way you don't miss it, and more importantly, you make sure it's me that you live and you watch as opposed to anyone else. Jasmine video, please. I mean, we could definitely take a look at Jasmine tomorrow night. There isn't really much coming out of it. Obviously, Jangshan had a really nice move and then dumped all the way back down, which is, you know, a little bit disappointing. I actually thought we'd get a little bit more from that move on Jasmine. We sort of touched on that prior to the move happening as well, but, you know, I didn't get into it in fairness. Craig coming in there with the 149 burger. Thank you so much, my man. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. Do you know if it's possible to get Tau on Ledger? I'm not sure. However, I have just installed a new wallet called Crucible Wallet, which you could put Tau in, interestingly enough. So I don't know if you want to have a look at that. It's a browser-based wallet, but lots of people tell me it's pretty good. I haven't used it yet. It's to do with a partnership I've just recently made. But yeah, I got Crucible Wallet, which I believe you can get Tau on, and I believe you can stake Tau, and you can also get tokens that are attributed to the Tau network on it. So might be worth looking at. Just my opinion. But I don't know in terms of Ledger, personally. I'm not sure. Probably not. But yeah. Yeah, Henry, take a look at it. Look, it's pretty cool, actually. Like I said, it's just like MetaMask, but yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Pizza, baby. I like it. Ba 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 ba. That's all right, background. Don't worry about that. Okay, I'm in the Dirty Burger Boy myself. What's going on, Krug? Correction, BTC dip, not the bottom. That's true, yeah. That's true. Claude.atg.eth. Any track? Is that a meme coin? I mean, I've looked at this Clodbot thing. I mean, I was gonna get it, but man, it looks terrifying. Like the fact that it's just absolutely wild. What is it? CLAWD. Oops. Yeah, it's CL. Where is that? Claude.atg.eth. Is that the website or? Plastic were invented 907 RPM, so they, I don't know. I don't know if it's there like this, but Revolt has become the same. Well, Revolt have just been given, or potentially, I think, have been approved for a banking account in the UK, right? Am I making that up? Or is that, I feel like that's somewhere. What are you guys doing, you massive choppers? The ice cream bot, I like it. Yeah, so Revolt gets UK banking approval. Revolt received approval from the Prudential Regulation Authority to launch Revolt Bank UK, enabling FSCS protected deposits for its 13 million UK customers. Current accounts will be out gradually during migration to the new bank. So is Revolt not in the UK? I thought it's a UK-based company that's like left and gone somewhere else. Dex Tools, it's the token name. All right, okay, nice one, Matt. There we are, cool, got it. Got it. OPF Norfolk, what's going on, my man? Good to see you, bud. Welcome in. Welcome in. Oh, yeah, this was what I was just looking at. Man, there's so many. Look at this, though, Mark. Look how many coins are under this contract address. Like, what? What is this? What is this crazy stuff? I mean, I don't know about this, mate. I don't know about this. I don't even know which one you're looking at. I mean, why is there so many of them? That is what I would ask, though. That's insane. I don't even know which one to look at. This one, I'm assuming, is probably the best. So volume is 8K. I mean, it looks terrible. I mean, if I'm honest, I don't know why there's so many of them, to be honest. I have an itch to buy a meme token. Going to buy Marbits if I can't find another one. It's fine. I'll message you. I'll message you. Yeah, I'll send you a message with one that might be worth looking at. Howard says, now I'm stressed about crypto tax. I can't get the tax info from years ago in order to do my taxes. Uphold really sucks. I'm surprised they don't have like some kind of, you get a Freedom of Information Act that you could request it, I'm sure. If it's all on Uphold, I'm sure you could request that information, and they would by law, I believe you have to keep it for like 3 years or something, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if you couldn't get a hold of that information. I'd be surprised. I've been doing all my trading, banking, and saving on Revolt for a couple of years now. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously coins out there right now, but the meme coin market's wild. I mean, it's really quiet. I mean, I got one sent to me the other day that I didn't do anything with. Where is it? I mean, I can bring it up on the screen. But I am absolutely not in a million years advocating. In fact, I'm going to take it off the screen and look at it first. Of course it is. Of course it is. Of course it's up 6,000%. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about it. I'll message you it. In fact, I'll send you it now, Mark. Like, I am not advocating for this. I am not saying that you should get it. I'm just sending you one that you could have a look at. But in my opinion, it looks a little bit better than that one we just looked at. And I think there's less contracts on it. So, where are you, Mark Noby? There you are. There you go. I'm not telling you to buy it. If you buy it and it goes down, it's your fault, right? It's not financial advice, okay? But they did reach out to me and they were like, hey, would you be interested in doing some content? And I was like, not at the minute. Like, I want to focus on, you know, I want to focus on what we're doing with the channel and stuff like that in a minute. So, yeah. Has anyone ever asked when Moon? We need to know that one. That's true, actually, RPM. And the answer is I don't know. I don't know. But again, by the way, Mark Noby, I've said it a million times. It's low volume. It might do something. It might not. It depends what your itch is, really, if I'm honest. Depends what your itch is. Yeah, see, VHF knows. Remember, you only tax on gains, and you can write off your losses against those gains up to 3 years, I think it is, as well. So, yeah. Be mindful of that. Be mindful of that. Again, you want to make sure that you're paying your taxes. That's important, but at the same time, making sure that you're not overpaying on your taxes, because that's bad news. Cost me £6 to fill my tank today. Not as bad as I thought, but I suppose it may seem a lot for a lot more. What is that? What is that? That's wild. That's wild. Are you talking about me, Mark? That coin? Have I mislooked at it? They did reach out to me. I mean, is it? I mean, if it is what you just said it is, then I'm glad I didn't do it. Oh, right. Yeah, I don't know what that is, by the way. I don't know what it is, but like I said, it is worth doing some research. All I'm saying is they reached out to me, that's all. And, I mean, I haven't done anything with it, but... all right. It's hard to get sarcasm on a text chat. What's oil chart looking like at the moment, considering the news of Trump's new oil refinery? Well, I mean, look, the fact is the oil chart looks like it's going up in price. So you've got, you know, Brent oil there and going up. What is not changing, and it is worth obviously looking at. And there was a story today of Chinese ship trying to go through the Strait of Hormuz, and it turned back because there essentially is loads of friggin' landmines and stuff there. So yeah, I mean, they can say what they want, that this is like backflowing. It don't look like it. Now, I know you're not going to see loads because they keep turning the transponders off and all this kind of crazy stuff, so you can't see them, but it will literally take one ship to be attacked and this whole strait will close down again. Yeah, it's an interesting one, Mark, isn't it? It's an interesting one. How is this synthetic? Come on, bro. I'm sure we've looked at this so many times, and I don't think it's going to have changed. Is it your coin, by the way? Is it your coin? Just out of interest. I mean, it's on Coin Market Cap, but I feel like it's just. I mean, I'm happy to look at it again, but. Yeah, we've definitely looked at this a few times. Tough sell. That's all I'll say. I mean, look, volume's decent. Market cap's okay. 31 cents, but it is down from all-time high, 98.9%. So, yeah, tough sell that one, if I'm dead honest. Tough sell, personally. Yeah. Come on, Stardog. What? But yeah, so again, I believe, and someone tell me if I'm wrong here, but yeah, I believe they have been, yeah, they've basically said, Iran's come out and said, like, we're going to push it to $200 a barrel. That's what they've said. Markets at the minute, I think, are a little bit like, we'll see. We'll see. Obviously, you know, people are assuming Trump's going to be able to do it. Like, I just don't know. I mean, they attacked a Qatar. Was it Qatar or a Kuwait or Oman? It was Oman, actually. They attacked an Oman oil refinery today, I think, from what I saw. I'm thinking of a sea mine in the hot fuzz. Oh, dear me. I have to say this Japanese pumpkin is very tasty. Right. You got Japanese pumpkin, Tim, as well. I don't have any, but it seems very useful. How can you transfer across so many blockchains? Tim, do you have any knowledge of D-Bridge, ticker DBR? What was the project that came out and that was like built like you could interact with one liquidity pool across loads of blockchains? Like what did that one ever do? I can't remember what it was called now. It was like everyone was raving about it. They were like, "Oh, go to this like, you know, particular one," and it was like it could then move over like a load of different blockchains, and it was one liquidity pool, and I can't remember what it was called. How's that one still doing? Anyone remember what it was called? I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, we have US futures opening in, what, 10, 15 minutes maybe? We'll see what that looks like. Tim will know. Tim will know what it is. What was the one that Moonboy went on it? That's where I know it from. I can't remember what it was called, though. Well, Mark, maybe. And just, I think maybe they're trying to get some information out. I mean, like I said, look, I won't be dumping thousands of dollars in it. It might be worth like $25 something, but yeah. Paul, that's it. How's that one doing? Is that doing anything? Because that was a multi-chain thing, right? Where's this at right now? What's this doing right now? 71K in volume, $3.7 million market cap. Okay. It's a bit out there, isn't it? Okay, what is that? Why is it? It spiked to 146. Okay, difficult when they've got that spike in there, but yeah. Tough gig. All right, there we go. I mean, it looks like it's not really doing much, to be honest. And I don't know what those spikes are, which don't really help. Yeah. Okay. Like I said, it's a difficult one to look at, but it doesn't feel like it's doing anything super crazy. So, yeah, tough sell, I think. Anything that's going to do sort of weird bridging stuff, then I guess there has to be a reason that people are going to want to use it. Like, oh, I'm on Ethereum, but I want everyone to be able to access BNB. It's like, what? Why? I don't know if you guys caught my video talking about some picks. All seem to be doing quite well. You know, I talked about Solana up 0.25% on the 24-hour, 2%. Hyperliquid continues to go absolutely insane. I'm so annoyed about that one. We called about Hyperliquid giving us the potential. This one is cruising and groove. Remember we said breakout, look out, Hyperliquid is on the move. So yeah, Hyperliquid was looking pretty good. Canton back again. Look at that. Look at that chart, by the way. Look at that. We said, didn't we? Watch out for the bounce off the low range here. 618 for Fibonacci. Pretty much on the money. The wick down, the bounce back up. Could get rejected here at the 50. Might not. Might push a little bit higher there. So Canton back above. A 4% move there on Canton. Pretty interesting, by the way. Pretty interesting if you ask me. Morpho, if you remember, I was talking about Morpho, which is actually, it's, I think it's like the number 60 or something like that, is it? Yeah, 62. So up about 0.28%. Again, starting to bounce back. We said this. If it can break above about 196, then yeah, it might be interesting there on Morpho. So yeah, just breaking back up a little bit. Just breaking back up a little bit. Shaun of the Dead Hot Fuzz. Yeah, there we go, in fairness. There we go. All right, then. Okay, well, if you've got any questions or anybody, by the way, chuck them in the chat. And yeah, we'll take a look at any questions, answer any thoughts, take a look at some coins, whatever you guys want to look at. You know, we got about 10-15 minutes left in the stream. I still like Monad. Yeah, so do I, actually. I saw some updates from Monad today that actually looked pretty good. Oops, I did have a Morpho chart. Ah, bro, come on, man. Monad, yeah. Only up 0.5%. They just need to roll out, I think, a decent marketing package and actually a, you know, some kind of utility that's been built over there. Like, get some projects on. Like, this was, like, super hyped before it launched, and then it's just kind of not really done anything since. But, I mean, it's kind of starting to play an interesting pattern here. I mean, obviously, take out the wicks either side, but yeah. Could be a good one. I mean, I like Monad. You know, we liked it from the start. All, you know, it felt like it had a pretty good sentiment. So, yeah, we'll see. We will see. Algorand. Yeah, I mean, we haven't looked at Algorand for a while, actually. And what's the other one? Mbox. Have I heard about Mbox? Maybe I have. Yeah, 1.8. I mean, look. However you want to look at some of these coins, they are so far underwater that you're almost in a place where, look, you sort of, as long as you believe they've got a longer term narrative here, then, you know, you're probably going to be fine. But yeah, I mean, look at that. I mean, that's terrible. And actually, from an Algorand perspective, you ain't going to see any sort of move back to the upside for a long, long time. Really, you know, if you look at that as a chart for the daily, it's terrible. And you know, going to the weekly candles here, look at that. I mean, Algorand is at the bottom. It's as low as it's ever been. And, you know, as much as you tell people maybe these are the times to buy, these are the times to buy. The market and these projects just need to have their stuff together when time. Look, that's what it's about. Like, building now, isn't it? Build now. Get ready. You know, at the minute, it's just rotation. I can't believe AVAX wasn't in your top 5 altcoins. Yeah, I like AVAX, but I think the last bull run was so disappointing that I think people will... They're going to have to think about what AVAX brought out, like insane game that everyone started getting on board with, and it still struggled. So, you know, the fact is that some coins are going to outperform others, in my opinion. I like Algorand. I mean, don't forget, I like Ethereum. I like XRP, but I didn't put it in my, top 5 coins that I just think in this particular market are worthwhile looking at. You know, that have an opportunity. I mean, I'm seeing loads of people right now talk about H-bar. Everyone's like, H-bar. And look at that wick down on H-bar, by the way. It would have been a nice little buy order. You know, everyone's saying about H-bar going to the moon and that people need to be, you know, watching this. I mean, it's currently trading under the 20-day EMA here on the 2-day. So, you know, I expect H-bar to come down a little bit further. I mean, look at kind of some of this pattern playing out right now. You know, you could argue and say, well, maybe it just consolidates within this range before breaking out. Could be. Could be. There's nothing wrong, you know, consolidating. And even if you said, well, BTC's at 70,000, yeah, it's up 1%. It's still within the range. So, I mean, like I said, at the minute, hard to, in my opinion, be like insanely bullish on this market, which I know some people are, and some people are like super, super whacked on the market right now, which is, look, it's fine. And I hope they all bought the bottom and everyone's like cruising and grooving, but hard for me just to get super crazy bullish on this. XCN, where is XCN? There it is. Again, you know, we talked about XCN. Look at that. That got a nice breakout to the 100. Still trading along this bottom. This is the bottom of the market. I mean, you could probably move this a little bit now, which probably ends up being something like that, which says you are going to get a move at the, very soon here on XCN. Is it going to go lower or is it going to break to the upside? Broader market probably is the test here that, that tells us that we might get there. So, yeah. Well, why don't we go into BTC a little bit of a shorter time frame? Let's just try and understand a little bit about what Bitcoin's doing. I mean, this is the top of the range that we were just looking at right now. You could argue that, look, Bitcoin has got a small uptrend going on right now. Even if you fib this on a very short time scale, I mean, yeah, it just broke above the 618, 70,712. Next, 786 at 71,186 based on the 30-minute chart. Bitcoin could feel, okay, I guess. Folks are also much more friendly when the market is... I mean, that's also true as well. Aave is another one I'm watching. Aave, yeah, there's loads of... don't forget, they've got an ETF out as well, Aave. So, yeah, people are pretty interested in what's going on with Aave. So, broader world markets, by the way, look at this. Asia looks like it's a green pepper. Type in the chat if you know where that comes from. Asia Pacific looking like it's going to open. We got this on Friday. Like, sentiment probably feels okay. Europe, pretty flat. Marginal declines here across the stock market, equities market, and the US, as you would expect, probably opening a little bit less favorably. In my opinion, the nervousness with oil as to what's going on. So, yeah, just my opinion. Anything of excitement tomorrow? Jobless claims, which I think is just a generic move, so I'm not expecting anything too crazy when it comes to that. You also have the housing starts and permits. Does anyone care? Don't know. Calvin, what's going on, my man? Good to see you, buddy. Welcome in. Welcome in. Tim has here. Samata Pete, bruh. What? I was going to show you guys something, but I can't. I don't know where it is. Oh, well. Oh, well. Such is life, eh? Such is life. I actually think that it was... maybe it was. Maybe it was. By the way, can always come back tomorrow. Mbox. Okay, I don't know what Mbox is, but I'm down to look at it. Mbox. Or Mobox. This one? $8.4 million market cap. It's at 1 cent. And it... Nah, bro. Come on, really? Is that right? Is that what it is? Mobox. Or are you thinking of something different? I mean, it's got 8 million in volume, but it's terrible. Terrible. Mark says, year-old bag of Zebex still up just over 100 points. Just started an ANKR bag down here at 0.0041. Yeah. I basically removed them from the stream this evening. Look, again, I don't care about people's opinions. I'm all for them. I really am. We try not to remove anyone that we don't need to. You can't come in though and just be offensive, all right? Like I said, I don't come live every night to have people call me names. Like, come on, I'm a 42-year-old dad of 3. I don't need that. So yeah, come back tomorrow. You can try and come with a slightly different view. Bring his points, bring his views. I'm cool with it. Like, I'd love someone to say, hey, 2-bit, let me tell you why I think you're wrong. Because actually, this whole Iran thing's this, and the price is doing that, and CPI was this, and da-da. Because actually, we can have conversation, can't we? If you come in and just go, I think you're all Muppets because you all got it wrong and the bottom's already in, it's just hard to have a conversation about that. It's not like I just rock on the stream and be like, oh, this is what I think. Like, I actually do some research. I look at what I think's happening. I give a broader view of the market, but I'm always up for challenging, like, people saying, hey, no, you got this wrong. Like, that's how we move on in this world, isn't it? If everyone just agreed with everyone, it would be a very boring place. Good. Was you not on that side? No, I had a big presentation to do today to about 200 people, so I was out with work. In my pod. Thanks for time, everybody. Thanks to you. Hey, Grimmer, no problems, my man. Thank you for turning up. I appreciate it. Roman says, right now, I'm just wondering what can push BTC to 50K, but to be honest, I can't get it. 60, 70 with a... Look, there's probably... Well, obviously, there's two scenarios. The price either goes up or it goes down, doesn't it? If you get increased tensions in Iran, let's say, for example, you get like a boat gets hit by a mine and blows up, or something like that, something crazy, or Iran strikes a couple more boats, or Trump says, actually, no, we're not going to drain the wells, like, then that could absolutely be a problem. Equally, and I said this at the start of the stream as well, you've got all these kind of European countries going, hey, we're going to release our reserves, we're going to release our oil. If the price of oil continues to go up, so let's say they all release their oil, let's say they all, no, I was sensible. I had to present him, so last night was sensible. If they release all their oil, they've got nothing else to kind of bring the price down, right? Hey, VHF, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Catch you tomorrow, hopefully. Then, yeah, that's the risk, isn't it? Prices continue to dump. Prices continue to go up while they release all of this oil into the market. Like, it's bad news. It's bad news because then if you think about it, they're going to need to buy the oil back, which means they keep prices longer for higher, which means that could unsettle markets. And if you think about where, like, what's going to be the biggest effector, stocks are going to see a big effect. Like, you're going to see loads of these stocks push down. Like, you know, once they start having to pay more, that's where the risk comes in. And I think that's what people are probably naively. Now, you could then flip it on its head and say, well, maybe Iran doesn't get worse. Maybe there is just, I mean, I don't even know what ultimate surrender looks like, if I'm totally dead honest, but maybe they don't attack some ships. Maybe the landmine is a little bit of a hoax. Maybe oil just starts to flow through. The problem you've got here, I think there's a broader debate, which is the China-US debate. You know, and if Trump slaps a couple of tariffs in, you know, you could easily get into this world of like a ship gets attacked, drops some tariffs, and what else? I don't know. They keep they keep the funding for the government. It's just loads of reasons why the market could do either way, couldn't it? XLM, we haven't looked at XLM for a while, actually. I think it's pretty flat. I don't think it's doing much, to be honest. Let's have a look. XLM, yeah, here we go. 1.3, yeah, very much, I mean, very much where you'd probably expect it to be. Not what's good about XLM a little bit. Not, you know, we aren't at the super lows. You'd want to bounce here, though, at 16 cents. If you get a bounce, then, yeah, we might be okay. If not, you know, you could be starting to retest maybe some of these lows of around 10 cents. Might be a great opportunity to buy in. BTC, the price at the end of 2026. I think we could still be back over six figures by the end of 2026. Again, not financial advice, and I'm not telling you that's, you know, I haven't got a crystal ball, but, you know, I could definitely see that we could be back over six figures by the end of the year. Definitely. BTC's looking better every day. That fresh new money is sick of stocks and metals. Crypto is the value right now. I'm pushing. Yes, to a degree. The problem you've got here is, however you want to look at it, the best place to look is here. 46 billion in volume over the course of the last, 24 hours is decent volume, but it's not crazy volume. It's not like, everything's going absolutely whack. And I think the problem you have a little bit is we aren't really seeing the retail, agenda come back in. Even if you looked at, really quickly, BC at 50K would make it better value. I mean, BC at 50K would. If we go and have a look at what's going on with ETFs, then, again, you're not seeing loads of, stuff going on with ETFs. Everything's just flat right now. Not, not a lot. I think we bought a little bit got bought yesterday. Yeah, $246 million got bought. You took another couple of Billy Day sell-offs. We'll soon see price, come down pretty quickly, I think. Look at the back of the last week where we got, $500 million worth of sell-offs on the 5th and 6th. These are the kind of, these are the kind of the push downs here that we got, these two big, big candles here. So BC at 50K right now, I'd sell. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, look, maybe we get to break out, retest the 50. Again, the important thing to reference here, and why I think sentiment is what it is. This is still doing this. Look at, you've got the 20-day EMA, the only one ticking to the upside. 50's down, 100 downs, 200's down. This is bearish right now. I don't feel like it. And I think, maybe people don't want it to feel bearish, but broader sentiment absolutely suggests that it is a little bit bearish. Yeah, I mean, 50K, I mean, what if, you'd argue, by the way, I think if it gets to 50K, I think it probably goes lower, to be honest, but that's only because my theory is, 58 to 60 would be a great buy opportunity. And certainly I've told you guys a number of times that's where I'll be looking to load up. Definitely. But equally at the same time, some altcoins right now, again, it depends if you're Bitcoin heavy or you're altcoin heavy. Like some altcoins are absolute steal right now. Like if you're in Pepe, for example, Pepe is an absolute, 50335. If you assume Pepe is going to do some big moves and you bought this in the bull market of 2025, I mean, it's cheap as chips. Who cares if like the price? I mean, we were talking about Pump the other day. Pump on the breakout here on the daily, which is very, very interesting, arguably. Does it reject and drop back into the range? Maybe it doesn't, maybe it doesn't. And you then start to think about, okay, well, where is the next potential kind of place that I want to see Pump breaking out? Very, very difficult. Going to be difficult to DC it at 50K and not just dump it all in. I mean, that's also true as well. What have you been dollar cost averaging into at the moment? I mean, the only thing I've bought in the last month, I bought some Pepe, I bought some Bonk, I bought a little bit of Ondo, and that's about it. I haven't bought anything. I bought a couple of like new project launches that went in, but yeah, not a lot in fairness. I could DCA into altcoins, but yeah, I'm still sat with quite a bit of stablecoin. The only thing I would say is I'm staking my Pepe, earning about 175,000 Pepe every single day. I'm staking my Solana, earning 6.7%, and I can't remember what Aero's at right now. You remember the other day we looked at this, I think it was maybe Thursday. I had 2 Aero in. Obviously, I did remove it and put it into my wallet, but they were at like 15% APR, which is great. Again, making your crypto work for you while at these levels. But where are we at now? Oh, look at this. So yeah, so I've earned 24 Aero. I mean, it's not the craziest amount. It's like $10, but I've earned that probably since Thursday last week. So 6 days. 6 days, $9. No, it must have been before then. Can't remember. Anyway, these are kind of where I'm at right now. I have an average buying for Ondo at 95 cents. I mean, I don't know if you saw this, because I like Ondo, by the way. And I absolutely accept that many people would have FOMO. Well, not necessarily FOMO'd in. I think there was a lot of hype sitting around Ondo. I think there was a lot of expectation that they were going to deliver something pretty big. And I just don't think they had the chance. But they were tweeting some stuff out earlier, which I thought was interesting. Tokenized stocks just crossed $1 billion on chain. That's pretty interesting. And they're unlocking new possibilities with loads of different partnerships coming in. So look, Ondo's, pretty interesting right now. And I mean, what's the price? Like 20 cents or something crazy? So, you would need a very little amount to start to DCAing at 95-cent buy-in price. If I'm honest, I'm not telling you what to do, by the way. Yeah, 25 cents. I mean, I got Aero at 38 cents in April and sold it all at 110. Got some more Zebek at 0027. I will make an Aero back again. I think it's going to move nice. Yeah, I think Aero is going to do well. The fact that it's still offering 15% APR and still make it happen, then it's good. Staking creates thousands of pages for reporting crypto to the IRS. It is brutal. Depends where it's staked, though, doesn't it? Depends where it's staked, in my opinion. If it's a DeFi protocol, like something like Solana, for example, then that's staked through the actual DeFi wallet. So I could see on exchanges that, yeah, that would be a problem. But, if you bought Pepe at Pepe has a $1.3 billion market cap, it's going down to 90%. You reckon Pepe's going to like 1.3 million? I don't know if it will. Maybe it will. Aero's a good pick. Yeah, I like Aero. I've been in Aero for a while. I've had it all staked, in fairness. So yeah. Yeah, Akash, yeah, I mean 26 cents. Pretty interesting. Someone asked Jake Claver about Airdrome Finance on his last stream. He had a look, but didn't know much about it. I mean, it still all defines where, if you believe that Coinbase is going to do well, if you believe the base chain can do it, and even if, ETH layer 1 starts to, do some work, then you're going to get a little bit of a momentum push with, with like base chain layer 2s, for example. Akash says, what's your biggest bag? Ethereum right now. Do you mean, yeah, Ethereum in value? But I just believe in long term of Ethereum because, well, that's not true actually. There probably a couple of them are quite close. Ethereum, XRP, Solana, probably them 3 would be my top 3 positions. All of which I think have got some very, very good utility. And bear in mind, Vitalik's come out now and started to talk about Ethereum being super scaled and actually no need for layer 2s and all this kind of crazy stuff. So, that could be pretty interesting. XRP, when you look at what they're doing and how that's all being played out, you've got to be in a world of thinking they're going to do something different. And then Solana, as many people, just have talked about Solana so many times before, like it's going to zero. The blockchain keeps stopping. Hasn't stopped for ages. So yeah. You don't trade Bitcoin long term. So we are, I wouldn't say, no, I'm not, I've become more of a trader recently, than I've ever been before, actually. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking to enter a pretty big trade around 60,000 when we get if we get, let's call it that. But yeah, I mean, I do trade some Bitcoin, altcoins. I'm just a bit more sensible where I do it. Don't forget, if you want to trade with me, you could join me at Weex.com, link in the description. Also, it's in my pinned Discord bio. And don't forget, we also have Bitunix, who are offering 50% rebates right now, which is pretty insane, and our free Discord. Okay, make sure you're in that Discord. We do actually have a premium Discord, which you can become a channel member. Head over to whoop.com and grab a subscription. We post our trades in there. We talk about what's going on in the markets, analysis, as well as our bots that can literally do TA for you as well. So they may be worth checking out, in my opinion. All right, everybody. It is nearly 20 past 10, which means I've been live for quite a considerable length of time right now. I mean, it is Wednesday, and I don't see Vern. I haven't seen Vern all night, so I'm not sure if we're going to do the TikTok live. I'm wiped out, in fairness. So if he's not here, then I probably won't do it. But yeah, we'll obviously be back tomorrow night, as always, with the latest and greatest in cryptocurrency. So if you haven't already, by the way, make sure if you're on TikTok, you've hit the follow button, because that makes sure that you know it's me. All right, it's important, because so many people out there are trying to take your cryptocurrency, even in this time. They want to scam you. So make sure that you are following me. Likewise on YouTube as well. Hit the subscribe button. And if you haven't turned your notification bell on to all, make sure you do. That's how you get notified of our latest content, our latest uploads, and our latest important live streams. Okay, so you need to make sure of that. And as Husky Tom says, the Discord is legit. Like I said, there is 2 bots in there that you can use for DeFi projects, TA, everything else you want to look at. Highly recommend it. We also have our 4 trading guides, which we are just finalizing the last one. That should be up by the end of this week, I'm hoping. And also we make sure that there isn't loads of choppers in there as well. So we actually screen every single account that applies to be in our Discord. So that means that when you are in there, you should have some element of like, hey, these guys are, cool, and they're not like complete and utter chop ends. Okay, so important to think about that. Like I said, we do make sure, as I am literally scrutinizing some of these, and we just kick them out if they can't do the obvious thing. I mean, let me show you why we do this, and let me show you why our Discord I think is kind of cool. Okay, I'm going to show you guys something right now. So I'll have to go back in here. I'm just screening the Discord. So this is the screen you get here. Look. And can you see here that someone's pretending to be Curtis? So this is a fake Curtis account. Look, real Curtis. You can tell he's an admin. He's a channel member, so that's why he's green. This is a fake Curtis. But this fake Curtis is trying to get into our Discord, but they can't. The only thing they can access as a new user is the start here and the help. And we go in and we verify them and we make sure that they can get in. So they shouldn't be able to DM you. Look, direct messages are paused for the 2-bit alpha group. We don't allow direct messages if you are in our Discord, so they can't do it. And then all we do is we go into here, we go yeet, and we yeet them out the door, so they're not longer in there. We want to make sure that scammers simply don't get involved. All right, everybody, that's going to bring it to the end of the show. Thank you so much, everybody. Don't forget to check out that link in the description and also in our bio as well. Which would be very, very good news if you could. And as always, we'll be back tomorrow night, live 9 p.m. UK time. I think that's now 5 p.m. Eastern for you guys, I think. Forgive me, you guys put your clocks back forward. I can't remember. But as always, thank you so much, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow night, bringing you the latest, greatest cryptocurrency news. Until then, have a great day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.